All right, good morning, and thank you for joining us for today's Legislative Affairs Virtual Town Hall with Director of UC Benefits and Policy, Susan Dickinson. Before we get started with opening remarks, I'd like to provide you with a few key points about today's virtual town hall format. Purpose of the call is to provide educational and training information to assist you in providing responses to your offices regarding the UC program. If you have any questions about today's topic, please use the chat window in Teams. Please include your name and the name of your legislator's office along with your question. Unfortunately, due to confidentiality issues, we do not ask about specific UC claims. Please send them into an email and we will be glad to provide a more detailed response. For your use, we will provide you with a link to today's recording in the next couple days after the meeting is concluded. We will include any follow-up to any remaining issues that we did not have an opportunity to address this morning. For your awareness, the call is being recorded. If you do not consent to being recorded, please hang up now. And with that, the UC LegWeb numbers currently stand at, drum roll please, 62, with the oldest one being yesterday at 10:20 a.m. So the oldest inquiry that has not been looked at thus far is 11/17/25 at 10:20 a.m. And with that, let's get started with comments from Susan.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to keep it short because I am not the main attraction here today. That would be Heather, who is Heather George is the chief of claims, our claims unit here in the Office of UC Benefits Policy. So what Heather is going to be explaining to you today is the change that we have coming at the end of the year. It's a change that was put into the law many years ago. And it was tied to solvency. So the way that someone's high quarter for their financial eligibility, the way that the high quarter is being calculated is changing. And so it's going to be kind of a big change. I'll give the caveat that we don't expect any claimants will ever understand this. So as you know, claimants currently don't even really understand financial calculations that much, unless you're really walking them through it. So this is going to be even more confusing, probably. So we're just gonna, we're trying to we'll get the information out there for claimants and for the public, but it's not, we expect if anyone has questions about this, we're just going to have to handhold them, walk them through the process. We'll soon be training our staff on how to do this calculation. I guarantee the staff is going to have trouble with it. So, we're kind of in this together. So anyway, Heather is here today she has a PowerPoint that she's going to show you to try to explain how this new calculation works. And it goes into effect with the first full week of January. So I don't really have anything else to add. I can't think of any other crazy things happening in unemployment these days. Claims are just rising ever so slightly because of, just the annual seasonal changes that we always have. So we're past that season where claims are the lowest of the year, and now we're going to slowly ramp up, especially that week after Thanksgiving. The week of Thanksgiving and then the week after is when things really start getting busy. So keep that in mind. Currently, phones and stuff are still in good shape and not a ton of busy signals other than Mondays as usual, but things are about to start getting busier. So I will turn it over to Heather, who can take it away from here. So thanks, Kate. Go ahead, Heather.
Good morning, everybody. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And we'll get started. So the new financial calculation is going to be effective with benefit year begin dates of January 4th and after. The new revised method of calculating is just a little bit more complicated. So some of the questions staff have had right off the bat are about the rate table. So the rate table that we're accustomed to seeing, which is, on our website here, this rate table is not changing, and it will still be an important factor in the process. What's going to change is how we come up with column A, right? So normally we would have just looked at the 4 quarters and said, okay, the highest one, I, can put numbers in order from biggest to smallest. It's fairly easy. We pick the highest one, we come to column A and we find that here and use the chart to find our rate. So what's changing is how we now define, quote unquote, the highest quarterly wage and how we determine this number. So back to, so this is the actual section of the law that says, in calendar year 2026 and thereafter, when we don't meet our solvency measures, the law is kind of complicated in the way it's worded. It took us a little while to sit down with legal and kind of go through it. But we are kind of redefining how we find the highest quarterly wage, and we will be doing a calculation where we find 130%. And so I'm just gonna kind of skip right over the mumbo jumbo, that the legal jargon, and go right to kind of how we've broken that down. This is multi-step process. We're going to determine the highest total amount of wages reported. Then we're going to determine the second highest amount, and we multiply that by 1.3. And then we have to do a comparison. So if the result in step 2 is greater than number 1, which is our normal high quarter, then we ignore it and we just use the high quarter. We take that high quarter and we go to our chart and the process doesn't change. However, if it is not greater, then we have to continue on with the calculation. So if the result of step 2 is greater than the amount in step 1, we skip to step 4, which is go to the chart. Otherwise, we add the amounts from step 1, the highest quarter, plus the second highest quarter multiplied by 1.3, divide by 2, and this is our new high quarter amount. And we can move on to step 5 in the calculation. So the highest quarterly wage and our new highest quarterly wage is what we come up with. All the other rules still apply. So credit weeks aren't changing. 2-step back rule doesn't change. All the rules around, I have to have at least 2 quarters. I have to have at least 37.5%. None of those rules really change. We just find the new high quarter and apply it, all the other rules based on that. So I think it's just a lot easier to look at examples. So we'll just move on to an actual example. And this is a good one because it compares the current process to the new process and how it can impact a claimant. So currently we would look for our high quarter. When I used a high quarter of 1,700. Total base year wages in my example were 4,740. And if you went to the rate chart, you would need qualifying wages required and would give this person a rate of 68. So I can we want to look at, I don't know if this is going to make it too small for people, but I'll see if we can look at the rate chart and the example together. All right, so here high quarter would be 1,700, which would put us at, we need overall $2,718 in wages, would give us a rate of $68. So that's how we would read the chart now. And then if we go to the new method, oops, sorry. All right, so the new method, we have to first find our high quarter, and then our second high quarter, which in my example is 1,190. And you multiply 1,190 by 1.3, and it is equal to 1,547. So 1,547 is not greater than 1,700. So we are sticking with using the calculated high quarter versus the actual high quarter. And so we have to take the high quarter plus the calculated amount, which is 1,190 multiplied by 1.3. You add those two numbers together, divide by 2, it gives us 1,623.50. So that is our new high quarter calculation. So we go to the chart and we see that $1,623 is not even on the chart any longer. So using this new calculation, the person does not have enough wages, enough high quarter wages, and they actually become financially ineligible. So that is just one example. Most people aren't going to be in this extreme situation where it pushes them to financially ineligible, but you do notice a trend where it pushes them back just a couple steps on the chart. And so they'll be typically eligible for just a little bit less than they're accustomed to seeing. This is another example. In this particular example, we have high quarter of 6,500 and a second high quarter of 4,850. And when you multiply the 4,850 by 1.3, we come up with 6,305. And because the calculation, this calculation times 1.3 is smaller than our high quarter, that's the one we have to go with. So we take the high quarter plus the calculated number, come up with 12,805, divide by 2, and our new calculated high quarter is 6,403. So what you would do is go to your chart, you find 6,403. We'd have determine if we have enough qualifying wages, and if so, then the new rate is $252. The next example is one, again, where we, oh, did I skip one? I think I skipped. We went out of order. It doesn't matter. This one is a calculation where we look at our high quarter and our second high quarter. And when we multiply our second high quarter by 1.3, we come up with 11,310. Because this number calculated is higher than our high quarter, we can kind of ignore the calculated amount. We simply take our high quarter to the chart and determine the rate based on the chart. And that would be $362 in this case. So there is definitely multiple steps in the process. The actual financial determination is not really going to change. There is a grid that indicates, what your high quarter number is, and that grid will just, display what the new high quarter calculated figure is, depending on the math. And if the system is going to do all the calculations for us, the only time, staff are going to have to get involved, obviously, if claimants have questions about how it's calculated, or if they're trying to determine, between filing a claim this quarter, or maybe it's better for me to wait to the next quarter. Those would be times when the staff would have to have a better understanding of how this works. So this is the slide that kind of breaks it down, these two slides, 3 and 4. It is just very, very mathematical. It's black and white. So if somebody finds math fairly simple of a concept, it's going to be an easy change. If we struggle with the math, then it might be a little more complicated for somebody to digest. But so are there any questions? I kind of went through it pretty quickly, but do we want to go through any more examples kind of on the fly? I'm open to hearing what everybody has to say.
The first question in regards to this presentation is, will the slides be shared at the end of the meeting?
Sure.
So we'll make sure we put that as an attachment to the recording when we put that out, either today and this evening or tomorrow afternoon. If you have any questions about this presentation, please feel free to throw that into the Teams chat right now. And if you could, please put your legislator's office in there as well to help everybody know whose offices are asking the questions. We do have a question for Susan then, when she is available. There was an email question that was sent to me yesterday because the person could not make the meeting this morning. That can wait at the moment. If you have any questions for Heather, we would love to have them now. Okay. Don't see any questions popping up at the moment. So thank you very much for the presentation, Heather. Definitely look forward to getting this information in everybody's hands. Oh, Jill's got another question, so we'll give her a second. If you want, while Jill is writing that question, Susan, we have a question that was posed for you.
Yes.
Gina, Senator Ward's office. I'm pretty sure you'll be covering many of my concerns in the general opening remarks tomorrow about what the numbers look like at this point. Are our PA unemployment numbers based on the number of UC claims filed, or do we have other means to track what the job loss numbers are? Now that you've explained that the department is reactive as opposed to proactive as far as beefing up customer service needs.
So I just pulled up a link that might be helpful to you. So what we look at for our operations is the number of claims filed. That's really the part that makes a difference to us. The reactive proactive thing, I think that might be alluding to the federal funding model. I can't remember if I've talked about that before, how we only get paid for our work by the federal government after it's over. So they don't give us money. They don't say, hey, it looks like a recession's coming. Here, have some money and hire people. They do it the opposite way. They wait until we're, drowning, and then they give us money. Now, I will give the caveat, we at least have the state funding, the SIF funding, that helps us to keep staffed up at least a little. It's not the majority of our funding, but it's enough to help us, keep hiring interviewers year round, making sure that we still have trained staff to take claims for when things do get a little busier. So that's good. On the federal side, the funding is a problem, not just for us, but for all states. We're all just like sick and tired of it. The way that it runs and the whole model of it, and the cash flow is a problem. I'm not even gonna get into it right now, but anyway, so we at least have that to help us. Now, of course, the SIF's not based on claims volume like the federal government bases it on. But anyway, it is claims volume and not like unemployment rate or anything like that the federal government looks at. They actually set the annual budget based on how many claims they think there will be in the next year nationwide. And that's how Congress kind of gives them their full bucket of money that they're going to give us. So that's based on claims volume. But I will put in the chat here it is. The link to our, if you don't have it already, our PA WorkStats website. This is not unemployment's website. This is Workforce, our Center for Workforce Information and Analysis. We call them CWIA. They have this dashboard. When it took a while for the page to load for me, probably because it's like a website embedded in a website. But once it does come up, you'll see there's a way to expand it. And it's like a big dashboard, and it's actually very helpful. That shows more like of the workforce related stuff, like the numbers of jobs available and jobs, the job count. I don't know if they have anything specifically there about unemployment rate. I know it sounds kind of crazy considering I work in unemployment, but honestly, unemployment rate, like the rates that you hear in the news all the time, for our purposes, they actually don't have any meaning. For us, it really truly is claims volume that counts. So the unemployment rate is just, I know we've talked about this, but it's been I think it's been years. The unemployment rate is figured out based on a survey. It's a survey sent out to people. It's really not scientific at all. I'm sure if you talk to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they will tell you it is, but it's just a survey sent out to people. And that's how they determine what the unemployment rate is that you hear in the news all the time. So really initial claims volume and even weekly claims volume, that's what really helps us understand what's happening in our operations and how things are going. So at the beginning, when I said that things were ramping up a bit for the season, that's, initial claims volume. We can see we have a chart. I know I've pasted it here in the chat before. I'll look for it quickly while I'm talking. We have a chart that that same group, CWIA, they keep for us and they send to us every week, every Wednesday. And it shows like year over year how many claims we have. And so you can kind of compare this year to prior years. They don't keep every year in there because it gets too messy and you can't really see very well. They keep some like significant recent years in here. They also eliminated 2020. I'm going to paste the chart into the chat. They took 2020 out of there because 2020 flatlines all the other years and you can't really. As a matter of fact, I'll take a snip and I'll show you. They have it in one version. I'm going to paste it just for fun. There you go. That second version has 2020. You can see how that flatlines all the other years. So I don't really look at that chart because 2020 is just such an anomaly. I look at that first chart. And you can see if you click on it and you make it bigger, you can see the orange line is 2025. So we're like on par with recent years. It's, this year isn't too crazy in one direction or the other. It really is just kind of on par, at least so far. We keep hearing, it's interesting. We had a meeting yesterday with our claimant advocates, and they were interested in knowing, if we are getting tons and tons of claims, because you hear in the news constantly of places closing, large layoffs. So not like your typical small things, but lots of larger layoffs. And I said, weirdly, no, weirdly, our claims volume isn't higher, even though we're all seeing those same things. not a lot of people filing claims. Now, I don't know the reason for that. Maybe all the people getting laid off are finding jobs right away and just not filing claims, or maybe they just don't want to file claims. None of us are really going to know. But with all the stuff you're seeing in the news, our claims volume isn't really reflecting any major increase. It's really on par with previous years. So I hope that helps, and I hope the dashboard helps. I haven't used that CWIA workforce dashboard on our website in a long time, but at times when I did need it, it's very helpful and it's pretty easy to use.
Fantastic. Okay, Penny from Senator Dush's office. Will we see the majority of applicants under this new calculation receive less with the new format?
Heather, you want to talk to that?
Yeah, I think you are going to see the majority of them receiving a little bit less, but there will also be some that used to be ineligible that are now eligible. I think you'll see, so it's kind of gonna offset itself in that respect. We noticed when we were reviewing a lot of examples, claimants who used to have like a lot of wages in one quarter that might have been caught up in the 37.5% rule, or what we call the code 6, in having really heavy wages in one quarter. When you go to average that out using this new calculation, they're no longer financially ineligible. Now they're actually going to receive a rate. So you definitely will see some people who are in the middle of the rate table, go back a couple dollars, but we're going to see the other side of it, where people who were not financially eligible be able to receive benefits too. So we are looking at, the impact of both.
See here, as far as questions, other things. Liz from Rep Warner's office for Heather. Will the new calculation information be on the website at some point so we can direct constituents to it when they have questions?
Absolutely.
Just double check something here real quick. I want to try and, well, I got you on here. Let's see. All right, these look like these are going to be fired off at Susan then. So Catherine from Rep Schusterman's office. Constituent received a no-fault overpayment notice for FPUC for payment from 2021. Notice advised that he had two options, pay it or appeal it. From our understanding, the statute of limitations is 3 years for this program. We submitted a ledge web. The claimant was contacted by LNI and was told this overpayment notice is confusing since the overpayment claim has been waived. The claim interviewer said that this is now closed and no payment is due. Are these notices going out in error, or are they automatically triggered? What directive should we give constituents regarding these non-fault overpayment notices? Thanks.
I've not heard of any issues where we're just sending overpayment notices that are older. So if it is, I'm not saying it's not some sort of an issue. It's just that it hasn't been reported to us. So someone would have to, from the field, or if you wanted to send that one to Kate, who could send it to us, we could look at the claim and see if there's a specific reason that one went out. Hopefully, well, we always hope that if staff encounter these things, they elevate them to us, but they don't always. So, so yeah, I would hope whoever did that ledge web thing sent it to OUCBP, but they might not have. So we can take a look and see why. It is true that the system does a lot of automated things, and sometimes we're not aware, but without looking at it, we can't really know for sure what happened in this situation.
Thank you. Let's see here. Jill from Rep Tariq Khan's office. We have a constituent who is a member of Union Hiring Hall doing intermittent work and is eligible for UC in between projects. They are not required to use CareerLink for their job search, but he was rejected from his UC claim because he did not have his CareerLink account. What is the appropriate process here?
Yes, this is an ongoing source of confusion year after year among the claimants. If they are with a union hiring hall, then they are still required to register for work, and I think that confuses a lot of them because they know that they're waived from work search usually. You know, that's not an issue. They know they don't have to do that because they get their jobs through a union hiring hall, but they do still have to register, and that's all in our regulations. So we can't change it. For now, I mean, unless we can change the regulation, which would be far down the road. But for now, they do still have to register. And in fact, we had an audit finding last year where we were not, the system was not correctly giving them denials if they were not registering. So we fixed it. We fixed it like a year ago, and it's been correctly denying people. So I think, there's probably been more questions about it when people get denied. So they do have to register for work. There is a variety of different guides. I know in our claimant handbook, it says it, but of course the claimant handbook is longer. Not a lot of people read it. So we do try to, any place we have a list of like registration requirements, work search requirements. We usually, it's there, and it's, I think just a lot of people don't really take notice to it. So that is, correct. I mean, obviously it's anyone's right to appeal, et cetera, but he is appropriately denied if he did not register. So he would have to register for, register for work using the CareerLink system. When someone does register, if they've been denied, at the time they do register, they start being eligible again the following week. So like if I've been denied for not registering and I register today, it's Tuesday, I'll be eligible again starting next week, not this week, but next week. So I don't have my calendar up. So let me look real quick. So this is currently the week ending the 22nd. If I were to register today, the 18th, that means I would first become eligible again with the week ending November 29th. And I would file for that week. I would have to, make sure my claim was active, reopen my claim next week if I'm not, and file for that week starting November 30th. That is his, if he wants to just, like I said, he can appeal if he wants. I'm just saying that might be kind of a waste of his time because that he has to register. So it's best for him to just register as soon as possible. And then, he can start being eligible as of the following week.
A point to make regarding that CareerLink registration. It is more than just signing up with a name and password. When you go in, you have to let them know that you are receiving UC benefits. You need to make sure that during the registration process, you give them the Social Security number as part of your account. And then inside there on your homepage on the CareerLink website, there's a status page. Typically, I want to say the last time I saw it was on the right-hand side on your main page. It says, hey, these are the things you have to do to be completely registered with unemployment. Or, hey, you're now completely registered with unemployment as of this date and time. If you do not have all the stuff done inside the CareerLink website, you will not be fully registered with us. Getting a name and password doesn't count. You have to go in and do a couple things like put in your work history and take care of a couple other small minor things to make sure that basically you know your way around inside the system to qualify for being fully registered. Regarding this, Jill has followed up saying, is there anything that can be done retroactively? But I think you kind of answered that, Susan.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if he wants to try to appeal, he can, and I don't know, maybe get a bad referee or something. You never know. But there's really, I mean, there's nothing retroactive really that can be done.
I'll leave the field open for a moment. If anybody has any other follow-up questions, please throw them in now. We'll give you a couple of minutes to put them forward. I know you covered a lot, Susan. Is there anything else you want to keep in mind with folks? Because we know that at the moment, December the 2nd, you will not be able to be with us. So we are currently working on alternative programming that day for the town hall. We're not sure if it will come to be yet, but we're looking at trying to see if the workforce development folks can put something together for us. We will keep everybody up to date on that. But is there any other parting things? Because otherwise, we're either going to have an alternate program on the 2nd of December, and then our next UC meeting will be the 16th of December.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at the calendar now. There's really nothing happening between then and now other than Thanksgiving. And I already mentioned, that's when things start to get busy. That it always seems that those like 3 days before Thanksgiving are also super busy, the 24th, 25th, and 26th. So just be aware that those might be quite busy with phone calls, especially. But then after Thanksgiving into December is when things really start ramping up. And then, of course, January is the peak of it all. So yeah, we'll be back here. I plan to be back December 16th, it looks like, is our next town hall after that. So if there's any like holiday, Christmas, New Year related stuff, we can probably cover it then.
All right, we'll give everybody at least one more moment here to see if there's any last questions that pop up. But while we do that, Susan and Heather, thank you very much for this presentation to try and help shine a light on how things will be changing shortly, pending any legislative changes that may be enacted in the short term. All right, seeing no other questions pop up, thank you very much for your time today, Susan and Heather. Thank you everybody for participating. We will get this recording out in short order as soon as press can upload it, and we will include the information that Susan shared, as well as hopefully get a hold a copy of that PowerPoint presentation for you as well. Thank you very much, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you.